It's
Mm.
better for me to create something short content and able to produce a lot more quicker and able to just get stuff out there because I'm hype, I'm enjoying the moment, I'm able to create something from imagination into reality.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm old man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest, and that is.
Hello, my name's Wolveeps.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us, Wolveeps. It's an absolute pleasure. I
Yes,
see the
indeed.
name around the
Yes, indeed.
PJKT world, so I'm glad I actually we get to put a face and a voice to the name.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, I'm kind of everywhere here in VRChat, especially around PKT.
Hmm. So before we jump that far ahead, what is it you're known for, and how'd you get started with everything?
Well, I'm known for many things here. So what I originally started as a VRC TikToker back in 2019, um, blown up like crazy back then. Then started my own group of VRC TikTokers and content creators. That exploded for a bit. Then I got invited to work at VRCon as a world designer and concept artist.
Hmm.
Work my way up all the way to media team lead and the one of the main advisors to help their directors to make some decisions back in the day.
Oh wow.
Eventually, we had our creative differences. So I decided to part my own ways. Then several other members have joined us during that moment, and we ended up creating project community.
Oh
So,
wow.
and which I'm the director of media and marketing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. You have quite a lot of hats on your belt. That's quite impressive. What pulled you into VR in the
hmm
beginning? What made you want to grab yourself this 5 pound electric potato and put it on your head?
Well, originally, what happened was I at the time I was trying to create my own anime. I was looking ways of how to make it quicker, faster. Because I'm just a lone person. I don't have a dedicated team or a studio behind me. So I was looking at Blender and Netstripe 3D animation at the time. While I was doing my research, a video popped up onto my YouTube showed me VRChat,
Hmm.
and I was kind of blown away. Like, like I don't need to animate every frame. Instead, I can body act and I can create the characters and just upload them and reenact them here and hopefully maybe get some voice actors down the road. Um, but what ended up happening during that time, instead of me going down that rabbit hole of creating my anime, I ended up loving the community itself, and eventually I decided, I'll be one of the content creators there. So I started to stream, then upload my first TikTok. Then, as you heard, it's just a snowball effect.
Oh wow. So what made you stay after you initially came in and tried to do your anime, became a content creator? What kept you making your TikTok videos, and what was the goal you were shooting for when you were doing the TikTok videos?
Well, couple of things. One, what inspired me a lot, it's the community here, basically the creativity. Every time I hop online, there's always something new and diverse to see here.
Mm.
Nothing is always stays the same. So that was what my main drive in the very beginning. But over time, as I get learn more and more about the platform, I just love developing for the platform. Both in my videos and worlds that I create, or organizations like VRCon and Project Community. So it's more the creativity side that kept me going and looking, what can we do? How can we push this? at the same time, how can I provide a smile to those who are in need of one?
Hmm. So, what was making TikTok content videos back in 2019 like versus what kind of media you would do now? What was the times like back then as well?
So, back then, when I started content creation, um, a lot of content creators did not want to do anything with TikTok or anything of that sorts.
Hmm.
Um, I saw it was another way to make content. So I decided to jump the gun and just do it, while everyone else just said no, don't do it. What up happening was I was one of the first VRC TikTokers.
Oh wow.
People on TikTok never saw VRChat nor someone very smooth animated that on that platform before.
Hmm.
So naturally, when you first come, you grow like crazy because there's no competition. So it was very easy to get attention. It was very easy to also learn what the TikTok community likes and what dislikes. Um, Over time, I learned that I can't make jokes about VRC because those jokes just goes over their heads because it doesn't align with them because they don't know what VRC. So I have to keep all the jokes or skits that's based on real life stuff instead at the
Hmm.
time. But
Okay.
if you fast forward to today, depending where you look, it's a lot harder to gain the views because now everyone's on TikTok now. You're also got VTubers, which is now a thing. So the market is oversaturated,
Hmm.
and similar thing. A lot of VRC jokes still won't stick, unless you gain a good amount of the VRC following. Then they definitely would stick. But if you want to grow everything, you gotta make sure everything's like for the general public how they see of the world. So
Okay. So, in the beginning, when you're making content, what was the general reaction from the TikTok community of VR chat and the VR social platforms? What kind of things were you seeing from them?
um, they keep thinking this was an animation or what game? What game is this? Or the most famous word? What app? What app is this? They keep thinking it was a mobile app at the time that I'm using.
Really?
So and it took a while to squash that for down for a bit. Basically, once people notice that what I'm doing on TikTok, I inspire a lot of creators from there to up on board
Hmm.
and start doing their own content here. Even a lot of people who are like their first timers. Prime example, if you ever heard of a content creator called Super Xavier, I'm one of those folks that he got inspired by,
Hmm.
and we help each other and learn the algorithms and a couple other things. Which on him, he also inspired several big creators that you might know here today. But I don't know if I can discuss that part yet. So
Oh, that's a okay. What were you expect? Was it an overall positive reaction to from TikTok community that you were doing TikTok videos here in VR chat, or was it a bit more hesitant, or did they not like it?
can you repeat the question?
What was the general reaction from them other than is this an app? Did they like the content or did they hate the content?
Oh, they love the content. They love it like crazy.
Hmm.
The only hate I got is people who are uh, anti-transgender.
Ah.
But besides that, every once in a while, Blue Moon might get a comment that they just don't like the furry just because of the ears. But overall, it's been an overwhelming positive effect over there.
Okay.
But when it came to on VRC side of things, though, that's a kind of weird story, though,
Okay.
because depending which sphere you go to in VRChat, a lot of people loved it and just wants basically fanboy or fangirl. But then you got the other side, which is the content creators at that time didn't like, because they thought TikTok was a joke, and no matter how successful I was, um, I always ended up being the joke of the party. So
Ah.
never took it serious.
So
So I eventually left that scene on that side and stopped talking to certain individuals, I will say.
okay. So the why do you think the content creators of that time didn't take you seriously?
Well, because they saw TikTok was a joke. They
Mm.
saw it was cringe content, and they just liked to meme on that. But the most thing the vibe that I got from it was more as, all right, how can you provide for me? How can you provide me the views? And I'm just not for that. I'd rather
Mm.
just collaborate and then just have fun. If we get the views, yay. If not, it doesn't hurt. We tried something at least. Puts our creativity out there, and that's what helped me and me started fostering my own content creator community, just so to fight that negative stigma
Mm.
for a bit.
So then compared to now, how much has the creator community of VRChat changed, or does it still have the same sentimentality of what it was back then?
It's a lot better today than compared to back then. There are some individuals or certain groups that still exist that still has that same mindset. Um, but majority of them are actually quite positive, really fun to hang out with. Um, just depending, it comes on to per creator basis at the end of the day.
Mm.
There's really no good, point of direction.
Okay. So the events that led to VRCon, what is VRCon and what was being a part of it like?
VRCon was a convention for the community by the community, ran by Busy,
Hmm?
another large scale content creator. Um, so it was our first attempt to bring out the light of the communities that you don't see every day.
Mm.
Stuff that you don't see at the Black Cat, and put them on a pedestal and show off what VRChat's truly about.
Mm. Okay.
So that was the virtual thing.
Okay. So what kind what has been since I've heard a little bit about a VRCon and you're with PJKT now, I'll direct the questions more towards PJKT now. What is PJKT? Is it of a similar vein of what you just described? And are you glad you're a part of it as a director?
Uh, yes and no. They're very, 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 very similar. The difference is we don't call ourselves a convention. We call ourselves more a festival. We want to do more a celebration of the community, and
Mm.
we do the same thing. We do put them on the pedestal and showing them off, but we want to go more than just that.
Mm.
So we want to even highlight, no matter big or small the individuals are, you get some sort of spotlight. Doesn't matter if you're a creator, community lead, or small group, whatever. You guys have some sort of chance at least.
Hmm. So what what was the creation of PJKT and how did it get its name, may I ask?
So, PHAG was really supposed to be our temporary name, actually.
Oh.
Um, because due to us splitting our ways from BeerCon, which I won't go into details, but we we didn't really had a feel of a good name. We just felt like you know, Project Community was going to be our code name at the time,
Hmm.
and we decided to have a little fun with it, change the C to a K, and just to be a little more unique. And thanks to DevMap, he decided to create that logo within a couple of hours, and ever since then it stuck. And we just and during the hype of creating something new, fresh, all over again, um, we just in our own hypeness, we just automatically like, what if we just use the word project and put whatever afterwards just to as an event, Project Fest, Project Inc, Project Lens, so on and so forth, you know,
Hmm.
and it worked out pretty well both as a marketing term and just as a fun idea. And I think at this point, it's most likely we're going to keep that now.
Okay. So, what was it like for you watching PJKT rise and become something to what it is now? Was it? Did you expect the kind of response from the VRChat community that you got?
Well, yes and no. We knew it was going to be a positive thing. We just didn't know the amount was. We thought we were going to grow a lot more slower. Um, but instead the opposite. We've been growing 3 times the rate we uh than we have done in the past. The fact that we left a more positive note than anything else, it's really a blessing for a lot of us.
Hmm. Okay. What was the overall response from the VRChat community to PJKT when during this entire time? Is it what you expected as a response?
Um, what we were, yeah, the expectation on that front side of things was definitely fully inspected. Um, the first months to our first event, building everything from scratch and everything. Sure, we're kind of rushing a little bit, but we just need to put our name out there. We need to put new stuff, and we understand there was quite a good amount of communities were hesitant to join us just because the split from our previous uh, establishment.
Hmm.
So we perfectly understand that, and we didn't want them get absorbed or anything that sort due to the whole stuff. So we just let them decide when it's best to join. Thankfully, after our first event, after they saw what happened, a lot of them want to join on year 2, which we're on right now, and it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Hmm. Wow. So, what has what keeps you as in PJKT as a director? What inspires you to keep on going with it?
It's really just showing off what the community has to offer. The creativity that's always here. Same similar thing how I was creating content back in the day for TikTok. It's just showing the little niches that's in VRChat.
Hmm.
That's the hidden beauty of this. Not a lot of people go out beyond the black cat or the clubs you see every day or whatever content that's been put out for social media. There's still a lot of hidden places that has not been explored yet, and that's the beauty of it.
Hmm.
So that's what makes me the drive, and most importantly, it's the love and the passion that we receive once this fest goes out. Either for our staff members or what the community says. So it always warms our heart, and we enjoy all positive feedback that we get.
Hmm. So, what has been some of the things you've learned from doing PJKT, like you as a person and a content creator, that stuck with you?
a lot. There's so much things it's hard to describe. Being a content creator was more as how can I provide a smile for someone who's watching, or how can I make this creativity idea into reality?
Mm.
Those were the two main focus on my front. But being like a director or world developer or any of that sorts, especially running a team. Let me actually focus on that instead, the team side of things. When you become a leader that runs an event or organization or community, it comes down to more as how can I not just provide a smile to all these individuals or keep them entertained, but how can we create something together? How can we make sure that we're not burning out people doing this, because a lot of this is volunteer. So, and that's where it comes the tricky part, where you have to make sure there's a balance of everything.
Mm.
If one thing's too much off balance, then everything else will start to crumble if you don't correct it immediately.
Okay. Now, with the team side of things, was that something you were able to pick up quickly, or was there a bit of a leeway time for you to learn those lessons and become better at your position?
There was a little bit leeway time to learn those lessons, especially at our previous establishment. That's where a lot of us learn a lot.
Mm.
I won't go on specifics, but overall, it was definitely a eye opener on how to run things, and we do enjoy a lot of it.
Mm.
So, but overall, um, it was a huge learning experience all around.
Okay. Now, without going into specifics, I'm just curious, what were some of the things that surprised you on running PJKT from when you were getting into it, when it became an idea, into where you are now? What were some of the things about being in that kind of position that you weren't expecting?
That's a really good question. Well, one of the things is the growth, as I mentioned before. It That was a shocker on its own how quickly we're growing. We figured it was going to be a lot more smaller, but another thing that we didn't fully expect is we just didn't know if our our style or our hard work on our infrastructure, if it's going to go well with the community, if the community is going to like it or not.
Hmm.
And it's been blown out of the waters where people prefer us what we're doing right now versus what we did in the past.
Okay. So another question for you is, what has been some important lessons or things to bear in mind when you're working with as many communities as you're working with now? Because I went through last year's, and there seemed to be a lot of communities. I can only imagine the scale of scheduling and communications it would take to make sure everything ran smoothly. I can only imagine what it's like now with this year, with the amount of communities that are coming in for year two.
Well, it is a daunting task. I won't lie. It's hard to keep track, who runs who, what community lead runs what. Um, so it is a daunting task. We Over the years we learned how to develop a system to help keep in track, but it ain't perfect. So we're bound to fumble
Mm.
or lose our tracks here and there just because of that. Um, Especially that all of us here are volunteers. So that comes to a huge factor because one day we might be all free, the week will be like super busy due to IRL jobs.
Mm.
So that's always been a hard balance to keeping track with all that information, and make sure our own team is staying on top of it on top of that. And this whole thing does require an actual team. That's how we able to keep track on things. Besides, important documents that help us go in that certain path.
Okay. So, what have been some of your favorite moments while being in PJKT over the years? What have been some things that stuck with you from the entire experience as a whole?
Well, my favorite moments is when we first launch, the day of, when we do our opening ceremony, because that was a huge stress relief. Because we've been cooking for 6 months, fast as we can, you know, from the ground up. All the code has to be rewritten, all the infrastructure has to be rewritten. New world design, new layout, new everything. And the fact that we were able to turn that around so quickly was shocking on our own front. At the same time, it was an emotional time for us. Just saying it's done, and then do the final steps of hosting the event throughout the whole weekend. And our second biggest moment was the closing. The second, because that's when, after the whole entire week we've been getting positive feedback, people are actually crying and telling us, how much they like this or how much they miss this type of event. They thank us for a lot of things, and that caused us um to be very emotional on stage that night on stream. So a lot of us literally broke down crying. So if you ever had a chance to watch that VOD, I highly recommend. If you ever want to see a lot of people being very emotional, that's the one to do it.
Mm. I can only imagine why you'd.
Mhm.
I can't imagine why you'd be emotional after spending 6 months of hard work. We've had since Raptor and
Mhm.
I have had a chance of talking with some of the PJK team, like Deathmap. We've kind of been hearing about how much work you guys put into it. And with the first year being your very first one, you're producing a story, and the story you're telling us, can only imagine the amount of relief and positivity probably meant a lot. So I can imagine why it would have that kind of sentimental value to you.
Mhm. Oh, hands down. And besides all that, certain communities here and there, captured our eyes, and it's put a joy on our face. Especially those who know us from our previous establishment really worked with us and helped us along the way. One of them is the Kriegsmen, which they are part of the 40K universe. They helped us on the media side of things, of like going to their PvP events and training with them to get our camera system up and running before the main event at Project Fest, so we can at least capture the best to our ability than what we've done years past. Same thing, working with VRCTN, see how can we expand our camera operations so we can get the best view at any time using their services.
Hmm. So, let me turn this back on. I do have another question for you as well with the marketing. What kinds of things did you pick up from working PG about marketing and media? How important is it to a festival like PJKT?
It is very important. As a creator, your goal is, well, at least my goal, I should say, is provide a smile or go do something creative. With Project Fast, it's another story. You can't really do some of those things. Instead, you gotta focus on how to announce the event to people. How can you not just announce to the VRC community, but to the general public? How far can we outreach? Spread the message, spread the positivity. That becomes the main focus. Second focus is top of my list is during every event, how can we capture the moment? How can we capture those memories? Because it's not just a memory for myself or our staff, it's memories for everyone. Because
Mm.
it's something special for all of us. A lot of us do create a lot of new friends, join new communities, and have a great time during our events. So it's really about capturing and sharing those moments, so you guys can be able to keep those.
Mm. So, with do you find it to be easy to market your PJKT as a festival to the general public, people outside of the VRC community? Because I've like at least in anything closer experience I have is like talking to coworkers and stuff about what I do with Metaverse Degen, and first have to stop explaining what is VR and VRChat, and then go down the slow rabbit hole of placing red lines onto the map and go aliens and have to explain everything as the room just fills with shit. I can only imagine what it's on your end with PJKT, the marketing, and what it takes to do that. Hello, just real quick, I'll only take a few seconds of your time. In the description that way, you have a card, metaversedegen.card.co. We have many links down there for you to come check out. We have an X link, which is with me. We have a Discord where we hang out and do stuff all the time, as well as a Patreon link, where if you wish to support us, you can. Where there's also a show and another podcast separate from Metaverse Degen, that which we have available to our wonderful members who signed up, such as Niche, Training Fangs, Aliquum, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you all. You're all amazing. Enjoy the rest of your video. I won't take up any of your time.
Oh yeah, it's a lot more harder. Thankfully, thanks to my experience being a VRC TikToker, I already got used to translating that. We're converting the information from what we know in VRChat into something that the public can understand and know what's best to show, what's not to show all the time. Um, so and it's been easy for me, but it's been kind of hard to try and train others to be that similar mindset, so they know when I tell them, hey, I want you to be the producer of this, trailer or this short or whatever. Oh, give me one moment.
Well, they just
Tracking.
went flying.
Okay, tracking. You gotta love
Tracking,
it.
number one. You gotta love the tracking. I don't have it, but God, I can imagine what it feels like it being twisted into a pretzel.
Indeed. But yeah, it's overall it's just finding the right information and putting it out there for the public to see and understand. It's a dance, but there's a beauty in it.
Okay. So, what are some ways that you and PJKT do to market VRChat to the greater public? What are some ways you found that work and can translate well enough for people to understand?
The most famous way for to the general public is mostly um showing off the hidden stuff that you don't see every day. Stuff that's not really cringy, but stuff like ooh la. So for example, this world right here, you know, you don't sorry, I you don't see every day, you're on a giant ring planet and on a nice, beautiful sunset view. People on general public tends to lose their mind a little bit, just like, whoa, I want to go there. I want to see that. Right? Same thing when you go to any other world in VRChat that's very beautiful. So especially showing that or showing stuff that people also don't see, is like a lot of people don't know that we create films here in VRChat. So that gets people excited too. Seeing that stuff, just putting stuff on a pedestal and highlight, small aspect, just focus on that one object and highlighting it crazy. And especially put in a format in a way where it captures their attention within 10 seconds.
Mm.
And that's the key right there. Because that's only how much time you got before someone starts scrolling up. So,
Mm. Okay. So
but mhm.
it kind of sounds. How do you combat that short attention span with people like after 8 to 10 seconds before they scroll up? What have you found that works with retention?
It's more so that's you always have to have some sort of opening phrase or show something that goes, ooh, stuff like that, or cause them to think.
Mm.
My main go-to is what you might see a lot in TikTok, which is, did you know, blah.
Mm.
So to use that phrase a lot, in the beginning, or make it, or say something in a question form. What do I love about VRChat? Or do something that on when it comes to the content creator side of me, do something emotional, right?
Mm.
Or something that puts your mindset up front, because people like to hear your train of thoughts. So it's like you put something stated before you give them the treat. Basically, you give them a little tease. So, like, for example, I may have done something that I might regret, but first let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Okay. So now that we're back in the TikTok side of things, I'm a lot more curious. What kind of content did you do on TikTok initially? What what kind of thing, if someone was to go there and find, what would they find?
Well, I do a lot of skit-based content.
Mm.
So I don't really do trends as often, but instead I try to create something original. And if I do create a trend, it's always completely remixed, something completely different than the original trend at all. It's not like I changed one or two items. I changed a lot about it,
Mm.
or use the audio from that time, but you create completely something else, like a whole entire new script and everything. That's what I tend to do. It's more as early short films, basically, what I
Mm.
like to do, but in a short TikTok skit format.
Okay.
Enough where there's something always interesting to me, or something that at least provides you a smile at the end of the day.
Okay. So what about that uh short format do you enjoy doing it? What about it makes you want to do the shorter content versus something longer?
It's both a challenge I like from it, and the creativity of how basically how my mind works. It's
Mm.
better for me to create something that's short content and able to produce a lot more quicker and able to get stuff out there because I'm hype, I'm enjoying the moment, I'm able to create something from imagination into reality.
Mm.
That's what really gets me. When it comes to long form content, I end up the hype kind of slowly dies out pretty quickly because I get burnt out pretty quick. Um, and it's something that requires a lot more focus, attention, especially when there's a narrative on there. At that point, that's when I had to make scripts for and read off the scripts.
Mm.
That's something that's I don't really find that much joy. I rather just idea, grab a camera, hey, let's just do this, and just act it out on the spot.
Mm. Okay. So how long did it take you to find the kind of content that you do and learn to do it? What was that training period, one would call it, when you were finding yourself?
Oof. So, a little extra fact. I might had, depending on where you look, I had two different training periods. First training period was right when I left high school. I did try to create my own YouTube channel doing IRL stuff. I did a bunch of
Mm.
different things, either from gaming, blogging, or showing off my photographs, being a photographer. But none of them stuck. None of them did. Eventually I deleted those channels or hid them. But once I went for VRChat, that was my second period.
Mm.
And that second period was a weird one. My content ended up sticking on day one on TikTok.
Mm.
I immediately went to half a mil on my first video.
Oh wow.
Then, then I think by my third or fifth video, it's at 2 million. So it was a shocker for me at the time, from going from basically having nothing into a complete blessing. So it was more, my growth on that front was more as, how can I handle this mentally? How can I still stay to myself and not be, what creators I have bumped to in here on this platform, how can I still be someone positive? So, but that was my growth right there on that side of things. It was just more on the
Mm.
mental side
Okay.
than anything.
So, how much from those days on TikTok and the skills you've gained through your creator journey were you able to take and use with what you're doing now with PJKT? Was it a wealth of knowledge that you pull from constantly?
Yes, actually, quite a lot, because I learn a lot. I learn how to not just how to record and pick up the camera here.
Mm.
I also learn what makes the camera work in VRChat, like on the technical level, like on the Unity, OBS. How far can we push those limits?
Mm.
Um, and at the same time, when I'm building my own content creator community, I learn a lot how to collaborate, how to talk, create my own team out of it, um, and share the experience with everyone else,
Mm.
and learn how to be a community leader. You know,
Mm.
so and the dilemmas behind that. There was a lot of fumbling here and there during that time period. But like anything else, eventually you're going to have to pick up yourself up and, learn from it and move forward. And that's the blessing out of it. And if I didn't do that, the snowball effect from me starting would just stop right there.
Mm.
I wouldn't gone to the point where I'm not just a director of project community. I wouldn't have gotten my first a Telly award that I just got a few days ago.
Congratulations,
So
by the way.
that,
Chris told us all
thank
about it
you.
and called me up and was very,
Congrats.
very animated, one would say. So congratulations on the Telly Award.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So I do have a question for you. What from the Telly Awards? Has anyone checked into what PJKT is and what were their thoughts on the community that you won an award for?
That part, I personally don't know, to be honest. What I do hope is they will look at us like, wondering, why did we win this award? Why the people chose us? And I hope that they see that this thing is created out of passion and love. This is not you know marketing for to get the next sponsor or next investor, like everyone else that were competing at the time. But this was like it was gearing something different,
Mm.
and I want them to see it in a positive view. So I want to show them like what we've been standing here for this whole time is, what is the best way to show off the community. Here in VRChat, a lot of people just don't know this, or they don't even know VRChat exists actually half the time.
Mm.
So,
So
but show that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just what does winning the award mean to you as well? Sorry to interrupt you. Please continue your train of thought. I can
Oh,
jump.
good.
I get ahead of myself sometimes, so I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Um, so winning the award for me is something that I never thought of winning. Um,
Hmm.
it it's really I'm still trying to absorb it. I'm still lost in it right now.
Hmm.
That all this hard work that I have put in, what my team has put in, and to able to be not just nominated but awarded for all of our hard effort for after 5 years of doing this, running a large scale event like Project Community, it's still mind blowing to me. I just not sure how to process it still to this day.
Hmm.
But I do enjoy it. I do. It really shows that no matter how hard the work you do, it doesn't matter if it's all volunteer. Um, it's definitely worth something.
Hmm. So, so another question for you is: we've gone quite a bit into PJKT and stuff, but I've absolutely forgot about the person the other side of this lens here. What is PJ the different festivals you do, like PJKT Fest and Lens and Ink? How would you explain that to somebody as well?
Well, as you heard earlier, Project Festival, it's about the community. We're a festival that puts a celebration for the community, by the community. Um, but we do it in a way where we like to separate it a little bit here and there just to give them a more better attention.
Hmm.
This year's going to be a little different, but that's just due to internal time constraints that we've been dealing with. But the main core of it is Project Fest is our main community festival for anyone new or old or whatever. That's the place where you can find all the communities here within VRChat. Then you got Project Inc., which is for our more our developer side of the community, those who build in Unity or build avatars, build stuff in the Udon or anything in VR development in general. Just learn of the hurdles and how you build things. That's the place to go. Um, then we also got our Project Lens, which is the film side of VRChat, where it's not just showing you all the films that has been created this past year, but and beyond that too. But how did we create these films? What inspired them? Or what are the techniques that we use to create this? What tools we use. So there's that focus. Then lastly, we have our graffiti grab, which is basically highlights of the hidden gems around VRChat.
Hmm.
The worlds. We might have a few popular worlds here and there, but we also have a balance of people who worlds that never seen before.
Hmm.
And it's meant to highlight all the little hidden stuff around the world. These eggs are scattered in its particular reasons. But then that all of that is our official events that we have internally. We have a couple of events that's external, that we do collaboration with. One of the biggest ones is Project HorrorCon. Project HorrorCon was originally HorrorCon by Mr. Creepypasta,
Hmm.
but um, as we're creating Fest this year, they have announced at that time that they're not going to pursue HorrorCon anymore because due to technical limitations on their staff side of things.
Mm.
So we decided to hop on board and talk to Mr. Creepypasta and offer him, our services. Because that's one of the events that we don't want to see dying.
Mm.
So we helped out, and it being very successful. It was his most successful event that he ever had. He like us, he was very emotional at the closing ceremony.
Mm. So, what was working with Mr. Creepypasta and HorrorCon like? What was what was what was it about? And yeah.
Well, working with Mr. Creepypasta was a very fun and interesting experience because he's the most chill, relaxed dude that you can ever meet.
Mm.
Um, he he is a very smart individual. He knows what he's needs to do or wants to do. But overall, the fact that he took a step back with us and just let us cook for him, it's been an honor, a blessing. Um, and it it was very interesting. It was definitely our first time doing a collaboration work, and it's something that we love doing and we want to do more of
Mm.
from that experience alone.
Okay. So, how much work went into goes into doing things like Project HorrorCon or Fest? Like this year, from what I understand, Fest seems to be ginormous this year.
A lot of work goes into it. So, as I mentioned earlier, our first year, which is the first 6 months, is building the brand, building the infrastructure, building all the code behind it, um, the whole 9 yards. Organizing, how our structure goes, everything. Once that's launched, on that was easy peasy. That shows everyone this is our bare minimum. This is our, this is what you're always going to expect from going on here on forward.
Mm.
Um, with Lens and HorrorCon, since we already built the infrastructure, it was very easy for us to do a quick turnaround. We didn't have to create everything new. We just use the existing assets that we have already built, but we just add on top of it that's geared specifically for that particular event. With Lens, it was, how can we make the player work with videos automatically where we don't have to enter the URL all the time. Then with HorrorCon, it's more of how can we um, create a whole new theme, new layout because we're not redesigning the style. We're not doing new logos. So that one was a weird development, but it was a fun development where we were able to take some of the project community assets and change it to be more spookified. Um, and also create a lot of new assets just so it fits with their theming, but yet use our existing infrastructure that we have built for Project Fest to be intimate so easily. And at that point, we're starting modifying our infrastructure to be more modular, so it's easier for us to just drag and drop like a prefab and just go.
Mm.
Um, this year's festival is more about, we already know what Fest should be, what feels like. How can we improve on that? How can we make it not just better for our, guests and attendees, but you, but for us who work on the back end? How can we make it easier workflow? How can we make it better so all of us can still enjoy instead of feeling burned out of it? How can we squash this burnout?
Mm.
So and that's the core thing. It's both adding features and improving stuff internally. One of the main things is you might have seen is RSDK. That took a very, very long time because we had to make sure we had to get that done right.
Mm.
With last year's SDK was very simple, straightforward, where you upload a booth. On our end, we download the booth, and our secondary program will randomly pick a spot and place your booth randomly on designated areas that we have set. Then after that, we manually grab certain communities and move them to opposite ends if we notice that they are not compatible with each other.
Mm.
So there will be less chance of fighting or moderation efforts that's needed throughout the event. This year is how can we keep all the existing assets that people have submitted so those who were last year can still reuse their stuff.
Mm.
But at the same time, how can we expand? Because we know we want to do more events, so we need to make this modular. And that's where the hardest part is keeping that intact, but adding all the new systems on top of that without breaking that one and then merging the two together.
Okay.
So that's what took so long was creating everything to be a modular aspect where it's not just where one user gets logged in. Now you can have multiple users down the road log in for you, long as they have a certain code, and now they can help upload the booths to your account. Or let's say you're a representative of multiple communities. Now you can choose which booth this goes to instead of having 6 different emails. Now you can just
Mm.
choose one.
Wow.
And lastly, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to use our last year's assets, go for it. And if you want to modify those, go for it too. You can download them and reshape them, then reship it. So that's the whole thing of prime example of improving what we already have.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like you guys have been really, really busy. And as a fun fact for those in the audience who may not know at this point, but with me and someone else are been working on a booth for PJKT ourselves and taking a look at the SDK you've come out with, it looks very professional. It seems very easy to use. It seems intuitive, one would say. So I would give you huge kudos for the final product this year.
Thank you, thank you. We did put a lot of hard work on that as well to make it easier for folks because we know a lot of people here are not game developers like we kind of are here internally. So we just want to make sure the pleasant experience throughout the whole thing. It's easy on you, it's easy on us. It's a win-win. So
Mm. So, final questions before we wrap this whole thing up. But where did you get your name from, Wolveeps?
well, as I was trying to create my own gaming channel at the time, I want to be something unique, um, and something that kind of ties in with my old name, which I won't mention here, but um, basically, it had the name Wolf in it, and I kind of want to keep that. But how can I make Wolf very unique? Because it's been overused, overblown so many times. So over the years. So I decided to go through a dictionary and look at all the uncommon words that words that we don't use today anymore, but in the past we did. So I eventually bumped into a word called beeps. In the definition, it was originally used to be called vice president in the United States back in the 1920s.
Oh, wow.
and I decided, what if I blend Wolf and Veeps together? Drop the F, make it fluent, and then put the S at the very end so it doesn't have a hard P.
Hmm.
And that's how the name was born. But eventually I dropped, that meaning of being vice president because it doesn't really fit, who I am or anything. So just let me Wolveeps be his own identity, own thing.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you for sharing. That's quite a unique origin story of the name. Final question.
Yes, indeed.
Looking back at everything you've done since putting on the 5-pound electronic potato on your face, did you expect to be anywhere near where you are now or the kind of experience you've gotten from it?
No, to be honest. This has been a very both a bumpy and a smooth ride here to this point. It's mind blowing to me. If I didn't bother to follow that one video that showed me VRChat, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a table trophy. I wouldn't have a team that I'm very grateful to have. I wouldn't, you know, able to push myself in so many different ways of creating content and both mentally and emotionally.
Hmm.
Overall, I don't regret what happens. Despite some of the downfalls that has came with it.
Hmm. Well, in order to succeed, you have to fail and in most things in life in order to get through the other side and become a better person and have a better experience. You do need to hit the rough patches every now and again. At least that's what I have found in my life. If I've always found if things get too easy, I think something's wrong is going on personally. So at least that's my take from it.
No, hands down, I fully agree with that. And the most important thing is when you do drop, always bring yourself back up. Don't let it sit and stuck around with you. Even if it's like the same thing over and over again. You know, it's not worth staying in that deep emotional rabbit hole.
Indeed. So the very final question. I'm sorry. I got one more.
No good.
If anyone wishes to do what you do, whether it's content creation, running a community, what kind of advice would you give someone?
Always go for what you're most passionate about. Don't let anyone stop you. Keep at it. Keep moving forward. Eventually, it will come in for fruition. But don't always stick to it one to one. Let it adapt. Adapt to the environment, adapt to the changes because nothing here always sticks. So, especially if you've had success behind it, always adapt because that success will end at some point. So keep moving forward.
That is fantastic advice. Where can the audience find you if they wish to reach out or to PJKT or find any of the work you do?
Well, for anything that's Wolveeps related, just go to wolveeps.com and it will automatically go to one of my um links websites like Linktree or BioLink. And if you want to look for something a bit more specific than say my YouTube or Twitch, you just do wolveeps.com/Twitch and it will redirect you straight to that profile. Easy and peasy. When it comes to Project Festival, um, look for projectcommunitiy .com, I believe. I hope I got the right URL. If not, just head over to our Twitter or X. It's now called nowadays. We're just PJKT_com. And you can find all the important links right there as well. Or just go to our Discord where the main show where everything happens. which discord.gg/PJKT.
Oh. And everything will be in the Hoobly What's It right down that way if you go down to the description. Lots of fun links and stuff down that way. I know it's daunting. There's lots of stuff from the world link to the guests, Wolveeps links, and then our own, and then this long hashtag thing. But if you go down there, anything you've seen here, you wish to see, be down that way. And before we send you that way, Raptor, do the thing.
Yeah, always the thing. No matter where you're at, folks, if you're venturing in VR or in the real world or you're hopping around having fun, but just remember one thing: who you are is what you are, and nobody can take that away from you. So give them hell. And if it don't, tell them to knock on the next door. Somebody's always there too. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye.